Hey guys, it's me, Jessica, and today I want to let you in on a little story about me. And do you know that little debate that is called nature versus nurture? I got to live it, and I will tell you why. When I was younger, I grew up as an only child, and it was just me and my mom growing up. And I never really knew my dad growing up. I was never really told about him very much from my mom. I was getting letters from my dad growing up, and he would write to me all of the time. I was told a little bit later that he had mental health issues, and I was able to get phone calls from him here and there. And when I was 16, he asked to see me. So I met him in person when I was 16. And I didn't really, give much thought to the relationship or care much about that interaction at that time. Being a teenager and being 16, you don't really probably care about much at that time. But it wasn't until I turned 23 years old that things started changing for me, where I started kind of wondering more about myself and about things that were different than what I perceived them in my life. Like things that were around me that I was subjected to from my side of the family were a certain way, and the way that I was raised and my experiences and how that side of the family was one way. But there were things about me, characteristics, or just the way that I wanted to kind of live my life, or my goals or my thoughts, didn't necessarily align with what my current family's life track was at that time. And I didn't necessarily know where it was coming from, or what was kind of where that was coming from, and I didn't quite understand about that per se. And so it made me kind of wonder, what was it like from my dad's side of the family? And I didn't have a relationship with him, and I didn't know really anything about that whole entire side of the family. So at 23, I called him up one day and I asked him if I could learn a little bit more about the family. And at the time, ironically, he said to me, well, actually, we're having a big family reunion. Would you like to come down and visit us? We're going to be coming to Selma, Alabama at the time. And why don't you come along? And so I absolutely did. And I went by myself on a plane. I'll never forget getting on the plane, and I was in the middle seat, and there was an older woman on my one side and an older gentleman on the other side, and they were husband and wife. And I said, would you guys like to sit together? And they were like, no, we chose these seats. This is where we want to sit. And I felt awkward in the middle of the two, but they started conversation with me, and they were asking me where I was heading, and we had the greatest conversation as I told them that I'm about to meet my dad and his family for the first time, and they thought it was like just the greatest thing. So I go down to the family reunion, and I wasn't quite sure how they were going to receive me, and I didn't know what the relationship was with my mom and that side of the family, and if there was any ill will or any bad intentions, or how things were left, when they had gotten divorced when I was probably 1. So I wasn't quite sure what had gone on with their relationship or what was going on with them. So I didn't know what I was kind of walking into. But I ended up going by myself. I actually walked in with a notebook into this big, large conference room, and I walked in and I immediately just went into Jess mode, and I started to interview everyone and ask who they were, what was your name, what's your birthday, and what do you do, and how are you related, and kind of writing all of this down, taking notes, and trying to understand the connection between everyone. And this family was amazing. Everyone was pretty much from the South, and they had that Southern mentality, and with open arms, they welcomed me, and it was amazing. And I met people who, in an instant, it made sense that they were nurses and doctors. My grandfather was a famous surgeon. Actually, his name is Dr. John Howard. I have a picture of him right here, who has since passed. He is very well known worldwide in the surgical world of developing some pancreatic surgery, developments of tools and methods during surgery, to name a few things. He's even written this book, which he was obsessed with, the life and times of Alan Oldfather Whipple, the missionary and the surgeon. He always would talk about this guy right here. And I had a chance to meet him, and I'm in awe of all the things that he has done in his lifetime, and the family just in awe of all of the things that they do as missionaries, as church people, as the humanitarian in me is everything that they are. And I get so emotional. It just all made sense. I felt whole. I felt finally this is the missing piece to my life. I only knew 50% of me up until my age of 23, and now I finally met the other half, and I have expanded my family to know so many more people, and I was so happy. And I got to know my dad a little bit more, and these wonderful people, and get to know people who were doing wonderful and amazing things for the world that I couldn't be so much more proud of. And to have come from this lineage of people, it made me so proud. And it made me really think about nature versus nurture. And I think it's a little bit of both, because I was raised one particular way, but there's just some things that are just in you that you are just born wanting to be and wanting to do, that it's just a part of who you are. It's part of your DNA. So I can really understand why that's such a hard concept to argue, because I really do believe it's a little of both, really. So as the years went by, I had made the effort to come visit this side of the family and begin this relationship with them. And I even went for a Christmas, and always by myself, going to visit. And another strange little story as to I went to visit my grandfather. He was living in Toledo, Ohio at the time. He was the chief of Department of Surgery for the University of Toledo, and the medical doctor for the university, right? And so he lived in Toledo, and for Christmas, he would have the entire family that would come stay and visit him for the Christmas. And he had me stay over at the next door neighbor's house. I was staying because it was kind of farmland and very, very rural out there. And that's just how they do it. And they have the southern roots, and they're very welcoming. And so I flew out for Christmas and stayed at the neighbor's house. And I got to meet my cousins and have bonds that I got to share with them. And I stayed at this random neighbor's house that when I woke up the next day, go down to have breakfast, and again, there's an entire dining room table that everyone's eating breakfast, and I didn't know not one single person, and having to meet all of these people. And it was a very strange experience to then have breakfast with all of these complete strangers, and they're saying, "Oh, you're the granddaughter of Dr. Howard," and asking questions, and I say, "Well, I don't know him either," and all of these people are all completely new, and this was just a complete adventure for me, and it was an amazing story, and it was great to meet all of these new people and to go on all of these adventures. And I continued over the years and having great adventures and great relationships that I still get to have today. So this was a wonderful chance that I took that has expanded to many wonderful things and great relationships. And I'm so glad that I took that chance and got to have a larger family today. So that's my story about nature versus nurture. And I have so much more I would love to tell you about yet to come. So stay tuned, guys.